head above water. One day we're soaking up the sun, sailing in the breeze, drinking margaritas and kicking up our feet. Then we start thinking we're sinking, we can't plug all the holes, running around in circles trying to keep our world afloat. And we all
left, your left, hey. Left, right, your left. You got it.
Truck it on.
Dockers, roll out. You're watching or listening to We Got Your 6 at 6 Patriot Playtime. We the people, the People's Patriot Project.
Looking for a place to put your skill set, your thoughts, and ideas, or want to help continue the mission? You have come to the right place. We are the People's Patriot Project, and we are the shock and awe when it comes to meeting the needs of our veterans and first responders. We are dealing with a new enemy in today's world where the wounds are not always seen. We want you to be a part of this mission in saving lives and making a difference. Welcome to We Got Your 6 at 6 Patriot Playtime. Here's the We P3 team bringing you today's best heroes hits in the boots on the ground organizations that are saving lives. And as always, Patriot Pride.
Left, your left, hey. Left, right, your left. You got it.
Truck it on.
Good evening. This is Andrea Eichmann with the People's Patriot Project here. It is the 29th September, and we are here with our We Got Your 6 at 6 weekly show and podcast. Every week we bring you a guest. Many times we bring a new artist, and we share all the good and sometimes not so good things happening in our world. This week, we've got a gentleman by the name of William Stevens. He is the author of The Mirror, and he is a man. He is a veteran, and he is wanting to share his passion for those who have served and help those that he can reach. Our sponsors for tonight's episode include Catch-22 with Derek Iozio, Operation Texas Strong, the Boho Hobos Hideaway, and our very own, we don't have Kimberly Gwinner on screen, but we know that she's here with us in spirit. Brian Kenzer, who's with us, and he supports VP3 with his mission and his business, Smart Living Today. This is about American-made products, and it can provide a stream to help support the People's Patriot Project while you are shopping for things you normally shop for anyway. You can get a hold of Brian at any time or go watch his video that I just shared. I'm seeing Jeremy, Jeannie, Derek, thanks for being here tonight. What an awesome treat to see you. I have an additional thank you. I've mentioned the New Brighton Lions Club a couple times for their donation in honor of Glenn Fletcher of Fletcher's Greenhouse, which will go towards wreaths for Fort Snelling for Wreaths Across America's event. I also have a donation from the Bayport Legion Auxiliary, and that was another awesome donation that will also be used to buy wreaths for the event at Fort Snelling on December 14th. You also can hear our podcast on Wreaths Across America Radio. That is on every Sunday night at 11 p.m. Eastern. You can go on to all of the platforms and type in wreath, or use this link that I just put in below to find our podcast. They do have us on the iHeartRadio app, the Odyssey app, and the TuneIn app when you just search Wreath. Thanks to all of our sponsors, guests, and viewers. And before we start this week's show, I would ask that you take off your hats, stand, and if you can, and cover your hearts, joining us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Boom.
Hello.
Here we are. Here we go. Let's grow. Let's grow. It is September 29th, and we are here Sunday at 1800 Central Standard Time for We Got Your 6 at 6. And what a great... We're missing some people, man. And that's good. That's not good. It's good that we get to still do this because, or in spite that people aren't here. But I want to also make sure that we're lifting Mr. Jonathan Crochet up. He's dealing with some stuff he's got to get through, and he let us know ahead of time that he wasn't going to be here. So we're with you, brother. And our Miss Kim Gwinner also is dealing with some stuff that she needs to get through, and it's life stuff, man. We get it. We totally get it. Family first with all this stuff as much as we can, and it is what we do. Jeremy Daniels is in the house. Good to see you, brother. Miss Eichmann already did all these shout outs, but I just want to get him up on screen real quick. Miss Wagner, boom. Doing some stuff behind the scenes with an organization she works with. More to come on that, but will be coming on to support the Wreaths Across America. Derek Iozio, he's the godfather, man. He is the godfather. He's the guy that gets stuff done. He is the reason why a lot of the guests we have on our show are here, because he goes out there and kicks them out of the bushes and says, hey, put these guys on your show. And we say, yes, sir. And don't question it for 1 second. And he's continuing his amazing mission with Catch 22. Used to be in Texas, but now is in Alabama. Real quick, get through everyone else. Mr. Kinzer's there. Did Jonathan spell this right? No, he misspelled grow. Come on, John boy, get it right. Do it the way you're supposed to. He's one of those Louisianans, so he puts the AUEX in grow, which is that's endearing to me. And if he's not doing it, it's not working. So Mr. Kinzer's here. I think we already said that. And I hear I hear. Timothy Williams is here. We got a new one for us. Mr. Hussein, good to be here. Derek Iozio, he'll do it for Jonathan. Yes, it is. That's how he does it. That's how they do it in the South. Eichmann, you eat any good food lately?
Well, I mean, this is always a challenge coming from Peterson because maybe we don't see eye to eye on foods. So I had some amazing boneless buffalo wings, bourbon glaze, just today.
Can't go wrong with tacos. That's right, Jeremy Daniels.
They're awesome. They're awesome.
I do say this, and I am a food freak, a food snob, and wings are great. I like wings; those are good. Mr. Stevens, what's your culinary delight as of late?
Yesterday, I went to York, Pennsylvania, to this place called Hefty Lefties. You ever heard of Hefty Lefties?
I have not.
The sub sandwich was that thick. It was that round. And I posted a picture on my Facebook, and some people were like, "Well, they didn't forget the meat, did they?"
How long is it?
Yeah. It was a 12 foot.
Oh Lord.
A 12 inch.
Okay.
Yeah. And I cut it in half, and I just saw the advertisement online. I'm like, well, I'm only 20 miles away, so I went down to it's called the York House. So I went down there and walked around and saw this Hefty Lefty place, and I didn't know if it was a food chain or if it's a one and only, because like I walked in there and they were like, it's kind of like in Philadelphia when I order a cheesesteak. You better know how to order it, or they're going to kick you out of the line,
For sure.
I was like stuck. I was stumped. So I just pulled out the video. I go, I want this right here. And the guy was like, oh, that's a Philadelphia. I was like, whatever. And then I got a cheesesteak too, because like it was like almost triple cheesesteak, lettuce. Onions and cheese, and I put ketchup on it. That was it. And
you put ketchup on your cheesesteak?
Here you go. Now you're in trouble. You're in the hot water too.
Well, that's a great show for tonight, folks. Thanks for coming and watching. And oh my goodness.
Yeah. Well, not on top. They put it underneath. They didn't put it on top.
Okay.
So I was like, well, maybe they forgot it, and I looked at
it. They do the ketchup. That's okay. Well, if that's their style, I won't. If any human being comes to me and tells me that they put ketchup on their cheesesteak, we're not going to be friends any longer. I'm just going to say that. No. Jokingly, not joking. So my sister is on here, and she comments. So there has been a wing traditionally that I have absolutely loved in the door. Miss Eichmann has had this wing out at Big Boar, which is a smokehouse, and it is just plain and simple salt and pepper and smoked wing. They're absolutely my favorite wing of all time. Cooked right, they do the smoke, and then they do a flash fry, blah blah blah. There's a new one. And I've been kind of visiting it regularly recently. It's called D's. Yes, D's Smokehouse. So don't throw any other weird stuff in there. D's Smokehouse in Zimmerman, and they've got this cherrywood smoked chicken wing that has just salt and pepper on it as well. It's just a night and day different wing, and it is my favorite wing in the world. But I did this question just to get to the point. I should put up a pic. I don't have one, but I made about 40 pounds of boudin today, and it is. I smoked it. It is, just so people don't know who boudin is.
Is it spelled like this? Buttend?
It's spelled Boudin, but you pronounce it Boudin with no N. Boudin. But that's how they do that weird stuff. Jonathan can come on and explain it to us later, but it's smoking right now. It took me longer to stuff it than I thought it would, and I don't know. I might have a commercial break here in a minute to go get it. Once it gets to right at 165, I might have to break one of those bad boys out. But it is. I'm excited. That's how I do. Cook all day for whatever reason because I like it. Challenge yourself. Miss Eichmann, what's in the news?
Oh my goodness. I believe we have, is Jonathan actually really watching? We have a list of news. Here. There are a lot of things to be focusing on this month. It is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, Country Music Month, Emotional Wellness Month, National Depression Education and Mental Health Screening Month, National Disability Employment Awareness Month, National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and usually we just list those that are really connected. Clearly, there are many other awarenesses and things to look out for this month. It's September 29th. Today is Gold Star Mothers and Family Day. As the date says, this is a day to honor families that have received the Gold Star, the military award that no one wants to receive. There are approximately 472,000 Gold Star families that are nationally registered. Today is also VFW Day, stands for Veterans of Foreign Wars. This is an organization established to support past and present American service members who have served in foreign wars, expeditions, or campaigns. The VFW was created in 1913, and its main purpose is to fight for legislation on behalf of veterans. They do a lot in their local communities and support veterans in multiple ways and are an excellent organization to be part of. We have October 5th coming up. This is National Military Podcast Day. This celebration has a dual purpose. It is intended to honor the stories and experiences of ex-military men and women, as well as acknowledge their endurance, bravery, and survival. Podcasting is the perfect way to enlighten and entertain others at the same time. Research has shown that audio tools such as music, audiobooks, and podcasts help to deal with life's challenges and process things that are difficult to overcome. The healing power of talking was one of the driving forces behind the creation of this day. Veterans frequently use podcasting as a therapeutic outlet for dealing with their experiences in the military. It is also a great way for veterans to deal with PTSD because as we talk about things, we grow, we learn to process and deal with things. It also invites others who may have the same struggles to share their experiences and hopefully overcome some obstacles in their lives. That's big, that's heavy. It's weird. I felt like I was reading from our business plan pages. It's kind of weird. We didn't plan this podcast, but that's what we hope to do with this live show and then podcast. So in a nutshell, that's our news.
That's our news. That's the end. Yeah, there's a mission out there, right? And our mission, we're going to get to Mr. Stevens here in a second because he's doing some amazing things, and we want to make sure that our Sunday show is about the boots on the ground influencer or organization, authors. That's what we do. That's our mission. We bring light to all these people that are doing things that are above and beyond what. No one's got to do this stuff. This is a frustration because people are like, okay, why do you just placate to veterans and first responders? Want to know why we do that? Because they've already done the job. They're already out there saving your ass. That's why. That's why we do that. We have firefighters and EMS and people who are on scenes of accidents, seeing stuff that you get to, while you're sitting at home putting your big old fat chubby fingers in the popcorn bowl, we got these men and women are out there scraping people off the roads and or driving into hostile environments that are right downtown America and are getting shot at or have to worry about, if the drug addict has got his Narcan and if we've, covered all the bases or getting sued because they put their life and their job and everything on the line to accommodate those people who bitch and complain when they're not there fast enough or gripe and complain about them because of the 600 million first responder calls in a year. We have some that go sideways and some that go bad. And so that's why we do what we do. We want to make sure that we are here to protect the men and women that have decided to protect those people who lay their big fat heads on the pills of freedom every day. I'm sounding a little aggressive right now. I'm sorry. I don't know why people don't get it yet. And that is why our organization is actually called, I know it says the People's Patriot Project, but I do want to bring light to the fact that we believe that it is going to be we the people. We the people. The mission is the People's Patriot Project. We the people need to pick up our irons, figuratively and literally, and go kick some doors down and make sure that we're taking care of the men and women that gave us these opportunities. That goes back to our pledge. And I have a hard time saying it's a pledge, but this is our statement we say before every show. This is our statement we say before anything that we do. We know why we get to do this. Thank you to the service members and first responders that have committed their time, sweat, blood, limbs, their literal body limbs, have lost family members, and have lost their life to give us the freedoms that allow us to sit here and openly walk out and say whatever we want to, whenever we want to, how we want to. We can choose all the political levels of anything that we want to and say we can do that. And when you have the right to do that, and you get the right to do that because these men and women. So I'm on a tangent. I can't be sorry because this is my passion, but I also been watching this young man above me, Mr. William Stevens, and he is a busy man, super busy man. Mr. Stevens, tell us about your service.
20 years, 5 combat tours. Where do you want me to start? When I was 19 years old, Desert Shield, Desert Storm. Didn't have nothing else left to do in life. Right after high school, went to graduation and basic training AIT, went to Germany. About 6 or 7 months later, I found myself standing in a port. Well, actually, I'll go before the port. Getting off an airplane. Like the second airplane or third airplane I've ever flown in my entire life, but getting off an airplane and having the life sucked out of me because it was so hot in Saudi Arabia. Like, it was like, just suck the air out of you. Like, we're not trained for this. We're not trained for this. And then I think it was more about survival in the desert because, like, I was there like before, during, and after the storm. Like, some units deployed there like right before the war, but we got there. I don't know what cat out of the bag, but I believe the artillery battery we're in, 21FA, the artillery, they're no longer around. They deactivated. First Armored Division. We were forward of the LD, our battery, our 8-gun battery, about 100 people. And we were probably as close as the forward observers could look at the Iraqi Republican Guard. Like, they went in and dug us in. You could look across the terrain. You couldn't see our guns. But when we were told to, it was called integration fires, harassment and integration fires, where we would just make the Iraqi Republican Guard mad, send some illumination and then fire underneath it. But we were a basic counter battery. So when they went over the LD and the Iraqi Republican Guard started firing at the American 7th Corps, I'll say 7th Corps because they're the ones that like went directly in. We took all the, let's just say we took it all. Our commander told us that we were there to die in place. Like we were the, what is it called? We were the battery sent forward that no one knew we were there. Like we didn't get no mail, we get no supplies. We took what we wanted forward into the desert. So getting out of that whole escapade and living through that, actually got to witness what white phosphorus rounds do and what the Air Force was doing to, what is it, Highway of Hell, Highway of Death. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Like the highway that stretches from Kuwait all the way up to Iraq. They call it Route 80. Military called it Route 1. That's where the Iraqi Republican Guard hid all their equipment in between like civilian vehicles and stuff. And we got a chance to get out of our vehicles and I guess you could say take a stretch and got to see the, I don't want to say too much, but incinerated bodies. When you're 19 years old and you see that for your first time, kind of starts to dawn on you a little bit, you know? It's like, oh my God, this is what my job does right here. You know, a lot of people don't get to see what, you know, artillery does. So I went to Fort Carson, went to Korea, went to Fort Carson, back to Korea, Camp Casey the whole time I was there in Korea. Between that, I went to several different, they're called like short deployments to like Kuwait on the border of Iraq, you know, the intrinsic actions or desert deployments, training the Kuwaiti army, military to do things, you know, spent a lot of time in Kuwait. And then I went to, what was it, Fort Lewis, Washington. Yeah. Fort Lewis, Washington is where like, I think the PTSD started to come out really bad. Let's just say while I was there, I ended up working in a museum. I'm not going to say too much. It's in my book, you know, but I won't lie, I got relieved, you know. I didn't agree with some stuff and got in an altercation with another platoon sergeant. I was a staff sergeant trying to make the promotional status list, and I don't think I was making that. And they put me in a museum and shortly found out that I was selected for Sergeant First Class, number 62. Yeah, my whole unit was mad. I was the only one in the entire unit that made Sergeant First Class list, number 62. And I guess the person who wrote my NCOR didn't know how to write, you know. It was thrown out. I think God was with me on that one. So then I left there and went to Fort Riley and became a platoon sergeant. Went to some desert deployments there. And then we witnessed the 9/11 thing on TV, my platoon. They came out and they were like, hey, Smoke, look, we were doing training in the day room. And somebody turned on the TV and said, look, the 9/11 towers just fell. And as soon as that happened, like we were called into a meeting, was like, you know, we're going to go. We need to start preparing. Like, I thought that's what we've been doing, preparing. And they were like, no, we're not prepared. So I guess shortly after that, we were in the desert, ready to rock and roll again, 1st Armored Division. But this time, when I went with my platoon, I was the only one wearing the 1st Armored Division combat patch. All my guys in my platoon, even my NCOs, no one had combat patches. So I was the big bad guy on the block. I trained him too hard, got an altercation with the soldier. He's just saying he swung at me, I took him out. Next thing I know, he made me the re-enlistment guy. So then when you're Sergeant First Class who's been a jerk to everybody, who only thinks of themselves, and let's say the sergeant major told me, hey, it's time for you to start, you know, re-enlisting people. I'm like, I have no school in this. I don't know what to do. It's like, just, do what you need to do, lie. It's like, I'm not going to lie to these soldiers. It's like selling a product. That's what I did. Asked the sergeant major for help. No one gave me help. I set up a little thing where I had internet and everything beside the internet cafe. A bombed out office. First quarter, we failed. I started putting my life on the line and going on convoys to the brigade headquarters to see the retention NCOs or the career counselors. And I was not school trained or anything. And eventually, let's just say, second, third, and fourth quarter, we were re-enlisted people left and right. I don't know how I was doing it, but I know when I walked into like the dining facility, they all ran when I went in there. But I think it was the way I presented myself. I would invite soldiers into my office during combat. They're out there pushing and doing whatever they're doing, but I'm bringing them in and interacting with them and their families. So they actually get on the computer and see their families and talk about retention and re-enlistment options, and started getting numbers. After it was all over, what was that OIF 1? Yeah, OIF 1. My third deployment, no, my second deployment. I was presented an award for 150% over our mission. So all those soldiers that were in the unit, they all went. We got back to Fort Riley, Kansas, and they said, "Oh, you guys did such a great job. You're going back in 3 months." I was like, it's time to call the Department of the Army and try to ask for a new job. So they sent me to New Cumberland, Pennsylvania, like 20 miles from my home in Carlisle. And I got to New Cumberland, and I was the observer controller trainer. And we were to go out and observe reserve and National Guard units for artillery tables. And that mission changed quick. We all got sent up to Fort Dix. We started training people for Iraq and Afghanistan. And it was the real deal, because a lot of people that came through the lanes and stuff, like we built the lanes from scratch. Like Department of the Army gave us the money. We had contractors come in and build mock villages like they have in Iraq and Fallujah and stuff like that. And eventually, we were cornerstone of the Army. We had huge contractors come in and build everything. And, it was no joke. And then finally, nearing the time, I was about 19 years in, let's just say I was volunteered to go to Iraq again while I was observer controller trainer. They needed some people to go there and observe the training that we did in the States in combat. And 5 of us went, 2 officers and 3 sergeant first classes. And we went, and we finally found out when we were in Fallujah what our real job was. We were to collect classified data to write a survival handbook for the Army in 2006. So we were called a combat arms assessment team, and we didn't have no weapons. I guess our MTEL, if you know what I'm talking about, MTEL, mission essential task listing, like it talks about what you can take and what you can't take. Well, we're an instructor, so we didn't have weapons. So I guess we had sunglasses and walkie-talkies, kind of like a candy camera. But we had notepads and this right here. And I guess we were the subject matter experts, because like when we went into to see these units, some of these units we went to were undisclosed locations. And we went to visit the Puerto Rican National Guard. And I will say, I have never been with a unit that's been so trained to being killers in my entire life, men and women. When they were at Fort Dix, they didn't speak no English. That's why we had Hispanic or Spanish speaking instructors. But when we got to Fallujah, was it 101st Airborne Division headquarters, everybody in the unit was speaking English, because they had just got attacked the day before. We walked in. Some of the units were using like these bomb suits that the gunners wear and the hatches. And I'm thinking to myself, like, what do we got ourselves into, So we're sitting in this briefing room, and I'm looking up front, and I see this helmet. There's a shield. There's like a plexi shield, the shield that comes down for the gunner. There's an armor piercing round, like a 50 caliber round, about this round right here. in the shield, stuck right in the shield, and it's sitting on the table. And they're telling us like, hey, see the guy standing over there with the neck brace on? He was wearing that helmet, so he survived, and he's going to tell a story. So he told us a story, and he said, like, if you think this is like not real, you already have a bounty on your head. Like they've got like a $10,000 bounty for you guys. They know you're here. They know you're here to collect data. They know you're here to go out with us, and they're going to try to take you out. And this is what the result yesterday right here. And I'm thinking and looking over at one of my guys, and I'm like, I'm glad we didn't go to Afghanistan because we'd probably be coming back in coffins, man. But they gave us sidearms and weapons and up armored trucks, and we went out and collected all the data and everything and went back to Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, and presented all our data to the Center of Army Lessons Learned. And we told that was the most sought out publication in 2006 in the Army. And then my sergeant major sat me down to do my counseling, like my NCOER, and told me that I have anger issues. I have mental issues. And with him being in the military, as long as he's in the military, I'm not going to make master sergeant. So my fiance, she was a psych nurse. I went back and had a long talk with her and said, look, I'm at 19 years. It's time to go. What do you think I should do? I said, well, we're going to have a family. We already lost one. My fiance had a miscarriage while I was training out on the lane before I went to Iraq. So we tried to have another one. And I guess eventually she got pregnant. And I went down to Walter Reed. I found out they had this thing called the Wounded Warrior Transition Unit. I went down there and got evaluated. And they said I was way beyond what I needed to be. A couple months later, I got orders to go, went to my unit, presented the orders. They were let's just say they were a little mad that, I presented them orders. I found myself being at Walter Reed for about a year. And I was in an inpatient, outpatient psych unit while in uniform. Most of them were in civilian clothes, people that came off the battlefield. That was an eye opener when I got there, seeing the young soldiers coming off the battlefield with arms and legs missing, and missing eye, like prosthetic eyes, and in wheelchairs and stuff. And the only thing, and some of them didn't have PTSD. They just wanted to get out and start a new life. And I couldn't understand all the job fairs they had. I never got to go to any of those job fairs. I was always in uniform up in, they called it training when we were at the psych unit. We weren't allowed to use our phones. We weren't allowed to have phones. No phones at all in the psych unit. So if we wanted to talk to our family, that was all at night. I think a whole year I was there, I got to come back twice to Pennsylvania and see my 2006. Well, yeah, she's my wife now because in 2006, December 28th, we got married. So yeah, she's my wife. And finally in 2007, on June 15th, we had our daughter, Isabel. And I got to come home for that for a little bit. Saw the birth of my daughter and went back to the mental institution or the outpatient psych unit. I had 12 people in the group. It was amazing because we thought it was all combat related. There was a female in there when she was a Marine. She had been kind of like molested as a recruiter, and she was the last one to come out. Like the whole time we were there, everybody came out at a certain time. She came out at the end, and we were all thinking like, well, this is all combat related. And then we found out like PTSD is not all combat related. It is like sexual trauma, like physical, mental, just the way people treat you and stuff. And you don't have to go to combat to get PTSD. So I came home after that. I retired in 2008 on Halloween. I got to hold my daughter. 3rd Infantry Division did my ceremony. I got the old guard to do my ceremony. That was really good. Came home, was on high doses of lithium and Prozac, And let's just say for 3 years, I did not know who my daughter was. I was always calling my daughter and my wife the B word. I slept all the time. I had 3 different jobs. I worked as a merchandiser. I got off the lithium and tried to go to school at Pennsylvania, was it Elizabethtown Academy for Correctional Officers. Got to work in a correctional officer facility as a trainee, as a CO, working with inmates. I brought that home and took it out on my daughter and my wife, all mentally, nothing physical. I was not a physical person. And then finally, I got called by the government to go work as a security specialist. And I worked for 16 years as a security specialist until they fired me after not agreeing with policy and having PTSD, like disclosing that I had PTSD, and then eventually everyone finding out that, you know, I could be, I was a target basically. And I filed for disability retirement in 2023, April. It was granted in August. And just so people know, only 12% of people that file for disability retirement for the civilian government force and DOD are approved. Mine was approved. So, and, you know, I saw my dad die in 2017, and that made me write the book, The Mirror. And now people have been telling me, hey, you need to write like a second edition. You need to like have the second thing, you know. So I wrote The Broken Mirror. Well, I didn't write it because I have tremors in my left hand. I talked to my phone and the words came out. You know, I would listen to some Nine Inch Nails and all the different music that I post on my 1821 platform, get my mind all riled up and start talking to my phone while I'm walking around my house. And May 4th, I started writing entries, and now I have The Broken Mirror done. So Mirror is therapeutic poetry. The Broken Mirror is kind of like an apology to my daughter, and dedicated that book to her, and started doing a lot of podcasting and reaching out to people, and thought that, you know what, I'm going to sell my house, buy an RV, and the house is sold. I close on the 18th of October. Have the RV already. I'm going to pick it up on the 19th of October, and my mission will start. I will go out. I will go live on Facebook, try to do the same thing here, but I'm just going to come on and have people come on and vent to me and talk to me about my book. Like I said, I could have had a copy. I do have a copy of my other book, a hardback right here. You know, this is The Mirror right here. I wish I could have had a copy of my brand new book because they were going to send it to me for review, but the storm held everything up. I should have that book Tuesday or Wednesday. I'll send you guys a copy. Like I'll send you when I get it. I sent Andrea. I'm going to send her a digital copy so that she can share it with you all. And that book had to be approved by the Pentagon. So here I am now, sitting in my empty house with my cat and dog looking at me. I have this here and my couch that I sleep on. And I'm going to start going out on my journey to try to help veterans with my own money. And anyone that has, I believe anybody has a traumatic issue waiting to come out. I feel I'm the voice of the voiceless because there's a lot of people that don't want to talk about it. There's a lot of people that can't talk about it. And there's a lot of people that are stuck on the couch. So I'm going to find those people on the couch and just use, like, I've had so many people help me. I believe before I end this, networking is the key to your success. I know so many people in a higher government. Let's just say, I won't say no names, but I'll just use them as my backbone. They are my backbone. And because I'm where I am today is because of my backbone. And I will say one thing, TJ Moffitt and John Hall, they're the guys who wrote the foreword and the preface to my new book. If it wasn't for those two guys, I probably wouldn't be here today. Moffitt was my security director at one time before he went to go get a better job. Actually talked to him and told him, I said, look, you don't need to be here. You need to go somewhere else and look at your 5-year plan. So here's a guy higher than me, and I'm talking to him and giving him information because he'd helped me through my divorce and let me do what I needed to do. So if it wasn't for networking, I wouldn't be here today. And I just want to say, if it wasn't for, Warriors Group, Warriors for Life Group, and Derek Hey man, I'm just telling you, I know you're watching. I think they're on another stream right now, but if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be on here. I wouldn't have met Andrea, sorry, and
That's okay.
got to meet Mark. And I've listened to a few podcasts. Some of the podcasts I was extremely shocked. But other than that, just remember it's suicide prevention. We're ending that. And I don't care if it's that month or not, but there's 22 a day. And I think people should remember, if somebody tries to reach out to you and you need to listen to them, you need to like support them, because if not, they'll end up as a 22. So that being said, last thing I would say is if anybody that don't think that they're going to have trauma, look at all these victims that just got in this flood and all this hurricane stuff. Like their houses are gone. Like I get mad because I get an inch of water in my basement. These people, they're watching their house float away. If that ain't trauma, then you don't know. I mean, like David into combat, but look at the trauma that they're going through. So, if any of them are listening, I'm very sorry that happened. And you know what? There's always a light at the end of the tunnel. That's what people tell me. And if you don't believe that, like I said, the networking thing, if you, make your plan and all that, you'll be successful. So that's where I am today. So thank you for letting me be on here.
Yeah, thanks for being here, Mr. Stevens. There's so much more. Were you a 13 Bravo?
Yes, I was artillery.
That's
I was a cannon. As they say, I was a cannon cocker. Yep. I was a boom boom 155 millimeter. Yep. I was never like no. Well, at Lewis we transitioned. That's one reason why I got relieved. I got in a platoon. I got in a little altercation with a platoon sergeant over, let's just say information. I was a paladin guy. So I went from the paladin. So I was 109 A1 all the way up to A7 in my entire life. And then when I got to Lewis, they were like, "Oh, we're going to go 19 or 8." And I was like, "Oh man," because the Rangers were like right behind us, and we were going to start deploying with the Rangers. And I got sick of being called an MF by my platoon sergeant. So I told him he didn't have too many more times to call me an MF, and he called me one more in front of the soldiers, and that was it. So I went to go I went to go learn military history. So I'm glad I did.
I may or may not have known someone who was on the 1908s and they had to transition back to the 155 pigs, and that was an absolute nightmare. And then back to the 1908s, but then they were already phasing in the self-propelled at that time as well. But
now they have the 777.
Yeah,
the 777 is all GPS light cannon. So like it's all 360. You don't have to like be all manual with the trails and anything no more. It's all power shifted and everything. I got a couple buddies who like work pretty high in the government that do like stuff with those kind of equipment and stuff. And they tell me, they're like, "Man, you're always asking about military. You need to stop talking about military, because like you're hooked on it." But I think the worst thing they ever did is remove the Crusader project. General Shinseki, he axed the project for the Crusader. But when I was in Germany in 1998, no, I'm sorry, 89. No, 89. I went to an expo center of weapons, and back then, these European countries already had a project like the Crusader, and that's like in 1989, and we still have like catapults today with GPS built on them. So I wish that maybe somebody could ever just like scoop me up and be like, "Hey, Bill, Steve-O, let's go develop a cannon." I'll be on that. So, but eventually it's all going to be Star Wars. Satellites are going to do everything. You know what I'm talking about. So I don't think I need to go there. I think the Navy already has a system that they're not telling people. So it's on their ships. It's like lasers or something.
Sure.
They got it. So
there's a 13 Fox in this household as well, and there's 20 years difference between the service dates. But to share with him, at one point we were still laying landline. Yeah, at the beginning of the 2000s, that was like, he's like, "Oh, forget that."
Are you a Fox?
I'm a Bravo.
You're a 13 Bravo.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Oh my goodness, a red leg, huh?
Yep.
You're a red leg. Okay. Yeah. So cool. Thank you
So,
for your service.
well, thank you for your service, brother. Um, we are going to have a little break here. We are going to run with, we got a group that originally was from Minnesota. They transitioned down to the great state of Tennessee. Their namesake is for a crossroads here up in Minnesota called Lake and Lindell. Um, this is Lake and Lindell still here.
I can't say for certain that there's any gold left in these hills. Perseverance pays us, so they say, and I just pray that it will. Each night the wolves howl, I scream back so they think I feel no fear. While I try to fall asleep, they just laugh and wonder why I'm still here. But I'm still here. I'm still here. I watch the flicker in the flame. I stay the same Planted all my pennies, call it gambling, 'cause there's no guarantee that I'll see any return, or did I bury all I have with history? Doubters call me crazy, saying that it's just a matter of time. Waiting for the day I pack my bag so they can say that they were right. They were right. Ooh, yeah, but I'm still here. I'm still here. I watch the flicker in the flame. I stay the same Each night the wolves howl, I scream back, I'm still here. They all call me crazy, oh, I'm still here. I'm still here. I'm still here. I watch the flicker in the flame. I stay the same, all the things they may change. I'm always gonna
Great choice.
That is Lake and Lindell with Still Here. Thank you. Thank you. I had nothing to do with it. It's just in our playlist, and I do. This is a good time to share. If you go out, because we absolutely love the musicians that have served, and we have roughly, well, we're close to 200 now. 200 musicians across the country. A lot of them are recording down in Nashville. A lot of them are recording down in Texas, down in the Austin area. A lot of them are, that's what they do for their job. And again, why do you lean towards first, they're amazing. And if you haven't heard the music, like, did anyone have any complaints about the last song they just played? I mean, amazing group, amazing job, and they're doing it. That's their livelihood. And something that we've learned since we started this is that there is so much more music than what you hear on the radio. And it is stuff that you want to listen to and be part of. And so we built these relationships with these musicians. We do have a radio station called WP3 Radio, and sadly and unfortunately, at this particular moment, it is under construction. We wanted to see it go another way, and we've got some people working on it. But currently, WP3 Radio is under construction. We will be back. We're not going anywhere. We will get all the stuff uploaded into our new platform and get that rolling. I hate having downtime, but it is what it is, and we will just do what we got to do. And the team's working on that. So we got some orders today on what are some things that we need to get done with it. So, you ran through pretty much all the questions that we asked, Mr. Stevens, and that's not a bad thing. Do you want to expound more on your books and like the reason why you felt you needed to write and the reason why you needed to put that together?
So, The Mirror, that is a compilation of all poetry that I have been writing since I was 19, like on little pieces of paper. Like I wrote a story in my book called The Secret Box. So I used to keep them all, everything like in a little box. And then finally, after taking care of my dad from 2014 to 2017, knowing this is the guy that like beat me my entire life with a railroad belt, I had to kind of put out to people that, I'm going through this situation where my parents are dying. I have severe PTSD. I'm on the verge of a divorce. I'm separated from my wife. I can't see my kid. I have no social life because I'm here taking care of my dad, and then he dies. And then, I didn't have a cover or anything. I had a manuscript. Like I just had a bunch of crap. And then like when he died, I went to work like late at night and printed out a manuscript that I had been working on a little Acer tablet that I had been working on at home. So here I am in this empty apartment. I don't know if anybody's ever gone through that thing where you have to like go through the empty apartment with your parents or house. And I'm going through like all their stuff, finding letters that I wrote from Desert Shield, Desert Storm, this girl I was going to marry from Germany, all pictures of me and her and all the stuff that my parents kept that I never knew. I'm here in tears. So it took me like 4 or 5 days. I didn't go to work. I just laid this manuscript out in their empty apartment. And I started saying, you know what? I need to be the voice of the voiceless. So I'm not just the voice of the voiceless now. Back in 2018, when I dropped the book, I was the voice of the voiceless because I was like, you know what? I'm floating around here with 50% disability. And then finally I got 90%. And 2022, finally I got 100%. It took that long. My ex-wife told me the day I left Walter Reed, I should have been 100%. You got people leaving Walter Reed with a broke ankle or something, pins in their ankles, and they have 100%. There's so many veterans out there that have PTSD that have like 50% or 40%. And, I think it's, a lot of people, they don't care. Like the veteran has been going and going and going and going. And sometimes they unalive themselves because there's no one to help them. So I thought that the therapeutic poetry would be a thing for people because man, I never thought I would write a book, but I wrote that, helped be an author for that book, The Call, and never was called out or anything. It's like, oh wow, you wrote that book. But one guy came to me at work when I was working for the government as a civilian specialist, as a security specialist, and he's like, hey, are you like the William Stevens that wrote like in The Call? He goes, because like my unit used that book and that book saved my unit's life. He goes, so even though, you know, I'm an officer and you're like a civilian, he goes, I would just like to tell you thank you. And I was like, wow, this guy, this is years later that helped write this book. So then all my friends from high school, I shared the manuscript with, and they're like, yo, you need to write a book. So like, it just happened that the newspaper people came around and did a story on my dad. Like he's a 2-time Korean War veteran. And they started like taking pictures of me like in the hallway and stuff. And uh, I already had like a cover of like a picture of Saddam Hussein's statue head and me beside it. You know, I was like, oh, this is gonna be cool. It's gonna be called Cover to Cover and all that. And my friends are like, who's gonna go to a bookstore and buy a book called Cover to Cover? Like you're crazy. So the Al Sentinel newspaper, they're not around no more in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. They took some pictures and they disclosed them to me. Like they did an article and I saw it. And I was like, you know what? I like the one where the guy's standing in the hallway looking to heaven. Like look at this. Like, this is like the bang. This is the bang shot right here. Like, who would not use that as a book cover? Like, that's me looking at my dad in heaven. Like, I'm going to see the light, you know? So there's a light on the other side. And you'll see that it was so good. I mean, I ain't no award winner or anything, but the U.S. Book Review did a book review, and I got the Blue Seal of Excellence. And then I just got this from my publisher for a Therapeutic Poetry Award I was nominated for. I didn't win, but there's people who've been nominated for 20 years that don't even get that thing on their book. So now, as an apology to my daughter, I wrote The Broken Mirror. And The Broken Mirror is full of broken mirrors for you to go back and reflect on things that happened. So there's stuff in there about mental health. There's stuff in there about resume writing. It's all transitioned from the military to the civilian side. And if people aren't even in the military, there's stuff in there to help them too. You know, you see me post on 1821 Productions, my Facebook platform. I've been starting to post. There's people out there that don't have the money to buy my books, and I really don't care if you buy my books or not, because like if you don't and you reach out to me, I will send you a manuscript for free. You know, all you got to do is just go on Amazon and do a review. That's all I ask. Because if I'm gonna take a manuscript that's protected by my publisher, which I don't name because they let me use my name, I'm published under my own name. If you don't have the money and you don't have the capability of trying to order a book, I will send you. Like I've ordered 40 books softback of the Mirror and 40 of the new book out of my own money, so I get half on printing. And I'm taking those books with me. And if I interact with people while I'm out on the road, on the street, and I see that they're suffering and they need something, I'm going to sign it, take a little picture with them, post a picture on Facebook and say, look, I'm in this state and I help this person. I don't care if you're a veteran or not. You know, if you're homeless or something, you know, I'm going to give you a copy of my book. But, you know, I just asked. Try to jump on Amazon and do a review, you know, positive or negative. I always take corrective criticism because I always get back to you and meet you with an emoji. So, but yeah, so The Broken Mirror will drop on Halloween. That'll be my 20th year I retired from the Army. And 13 days prior, the number 13, we'll have a pre-order. And I'm working with my publisher. We're doing this thing called a trifecta. And they're going to do audio and Kindle in November. So I'm paying for that all myself. And The Mirror and The Broken Mirror will be on audio and Kindle. And also, we're going to develop an app. So when I'm out on the road, like on Friday nights, you can look at your app and it'll light up and you'll see that I'm live. So, and I'm going to let people get that for free until I get starting like a whole bunch of followers. And then I think my publisher's going to make me like have them buy it for like $20 a year or something like that. But you have your own app and all that. We're not going to follow you or know your location or anything. But I just think it's like getting the word out, trying to help people, you know? So those are the two books. And I don't think I'm going to write another book, but I'm thinking, because my publisher's like, you know, if we turn you over to a bigger publishing company, they're going to make you write more books. And I'm like, well, I'm the author, so I'm only going to write one more book. And I only want to disclose this because my daughter's 17. She's a 2-time world champ. She's a competitive cheerleader. She won her first championship when she was 14, and she just won her second championship last year. I won't say what team she's on in case of creepy people out there want to follow her and find her, But if she wins the third world championship this year, because they're grooming her to be a coach, I will write a third book called The Champion. Already going to call it The Champion. It's going to be about my kid because she's the only one that carried. I'm the last. Like I'm the last male, but she's the last of the Stevens that remains. Like I have a sibling, but I don't associate with her because she didn't go to my dad's funeral. Um, so. But yeah, I do everything for my daughter. Everything is for my daughter, So, and my first trip is out to Florida to see her before I go out on the road. So, I just feel that Dad needs to do something, So it's kind of like I said, this whole thing, treating my family like crap when I was, getting out of Walter Reed, is a whole apology. I don't get along with my ex-wife, but I do communicate with her, and we have an amazing child. And even if we had no amazing child, I still would be trying to like help out as much as I can. And I'm definitely not a deadbeat dad because I make enough money that I can support my daughter. So that's why I wrote The Broken Mirror, because there's a lot of dads and single people out there that are going through the same situation. And there's a lot out there that are in worse situations than me. But if you could just open up the book and read something in that book, and if it helps you, I accomplished my mission. I don't care if one person buys my book. It's not for the money. It's not for the followers. Like I don't get the money. It goes to a private account for my daughter in case I die. And she doesn't know that. She might be watching this podcast. I sent the link to her. She's like, oh my God, Dad, please loan money to me. But yeah, anyways, I just have a friend pop up and says, I'm watching your show right now. You're an amazing person. Thank you very much. Someone from Facebook just popped up on my screen and said,
Nice.
Pretty cool. So I don't care. Maybe that's the one person that's watching that needs the message. So, but yeah. Yep.
Cool.
Can you explain to us, just because I see it on your post and I just want to make sure there's like no confusion. Tell us what 1821 Productions is.
1821 used to be my bank account number, like my number for my PIN number. My daughter tried to use it for her credit card, but anyways, no, it's a joke. 1821 Production came from when I was a young sergeant in Colorado Springs. I was a DJ at a place called the Underground in Colorado Springs, and me and this goofy guy named Chad, we were like, man, we need to make some flyers, man. Make these people come to the club, go out and hand them out and put them on cars. I was like, dude, what 1821 sounds cool, man. Like 1821 Production just sounds like a bunch of DJs, man. So I took this little goofy picture in my book. It's a picture of me on a dock where we like load our DJ equipment in the back of the club. And I put 1821 Productions like spray paint on the wall. And I use it all the time. And I just thought, instead of calling it like the Broken Mirror podcast or something, I just thought it would be cool right there. Like I made it more professional. That AI did that for me, 1821 Productions, because I had like the original cover from my book. So I think I sent you a picture of like the aura, the guy with the aura. It says 1821 Productions. That was the original. And then some of my friends were like, "Yo, man, you need to get more professional. You got people following you now." I'm like, you know what? This is my platform. Let me do what I want to do. Because like, if you look at my platform and listen to some of the music and stuff, people can relate. And like, if they're up here, like I try to bring them down. So 1821 Production is kind of like a mental health platform. As I've also been taking classes for a peer support specialist. So when I go out, I made a bunch of business cards with the little, do I have one in here? I have, oh yeah, right here. This is my little business card right here. It says 1821. So actually it's supposed to be like that, but I flipped it upside down because I'm kind of a little different. And then I have a QR code through my website on the back. So I give these out. And the other thing is, when you say about first responders, I'm not a first responder, but I work for a hospital. I'm a flex courier. I do blood and vital specimens. So I continue to see what's going on in the health side of the house. And I see these people that work in the hospital come out in scrubs, in the hospital that just got done with operations and stuff. I can't see how some of those people can do their job. I mean, they are amazing what they do, but whatever they do, because I mean, it almost everybody that has some kind of counseling or do something to decompress, and I never thought of working for the health community, but now that I am a flex courier, I mean, I'm just a courier, but they know that my job is vital, because if I don't get the blood somewhere, someone's going to die. They're not going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to fly a vial of blood in a helicopter. They're going to give it to me, and I'm going to drive, through beats of traffic to get it done. But I just shout out to the lab rats. I appreciate everybody. They all know I'm leaving November 1st to go out on the road. My boss is amazing, Matt Taylor. He gave me the opportunity, a job where, you know what, if I don't want to come to work, I don't come to work, because they call me to come to work. I don't say, hey, can I work today? I'm on the schedule. No, if we need you, we need you. So it's kind of cool job, but it got me off the couch, and I'm in better condition. I'm better health. Because before that job, when I was going through I was decompressing of getting fired from my government job. I was my face was very fat. My body, I gained weight, and I do know the last two security specialists that retired from government service that I know are no longer here. Security specialists there, it's a very stressful job. You have to do people's security clearances, and sometimes you have to do bad things to their security clearances, because they do bad things, so you have to remove it, and that you're taking that job from somebody and their family. So kind of didn't agree with that no more, so I kind of stepped away from it, and they fired me for it. So
there's a couple things you spoke during this. One is how people like to come into your space and tell you how you should run your thing. I always find that a little bit ironic, that you've got something, and then they've got, and again, I know there's experts out there, but we've on a number of occasions had people that I can't see optically what their space is and what they're doing, and they want to give us advice on how we're doing our stuff, which I'm willing to openly hear and listen. But I mean, if it doesn't fit our nature, then it's probably not going to fit into our piece, and so it's all good. And then I just lost my train of thought, and that does happen on occasion too. Anyway, we're going to hear more about what Mr. Stevens has got going on and what's up next for him. But we're going to take another little quick break, and we are going to listen to Mr. Mike Ponder, Better Day.
Spend my days in the bottom of a bottle, but it's never enough to ease my pain. My heart and mind is spinning out in sorrow. I think it's time for a change. There's a house with a yard, I can see it. There's a whole heart in the distance, 'cause I can't hide the thought of dying. It's in my mind in every way. But the thought of mama crying, it keeps me reaching for better days. It's been 3 years I can still feel my sorrow, and it's your love that carries me. When faith is gone, just give me the strength to follow. I keep the light in front of me. There's a house with a yard, I can see it. There's a whole heart in the distance, and I can't hide the thought of dying. It's in my mind in every way. But the thought of mama crying, it keeps me reaching for a better day. I can't hide the thought of dying. It's in my mind in every way. But the thought of mama crying, it keeps me reaching for a better day. But the thought of mama crying, it keeps me reaching for a better day.
That is Mike Ponder, Better Day. Gosh, we're so blessed. We're so blessed. What do you think, because you threw the words transition out there several times tonight, what are we getting wrong or what are we getting right?
Okay, well, my mic on? Okay, can you hear me?
Yep, we got you.
So there's a lot of people that have good transition. Like there's a lot of people who are very successful when they retire from the military and transition into the civilian sector. And then there's people like me or other people that are worse than me that, you know, some of them are not here no more. You have roadblocks. And that's why I wrote The Broken Mirror, so that people could figure out how to avoid those roadblocks prior. So if anyone's getting out, I would recommend you to pick up a copy of The Broken Mirror, because like one thing I learned that's in The Broken Mirror is resume writing. I don't know if you even thought that I would even put that in there, but I would tell you, when I was at Walter Reed, I went to supposed to be a 2-week course that was crammed in 3 days. So you have some people in there that were very high ranked that didn't know how to write resumes. And that's the way the military is. You have these people that, you know, they don't know how to do counseling. They're very high rank. They get out, they don't know how to write a resume, and they can't get a job. And some people who write a resume, all they write is military stuff in it. And today, nobody wants to hear anything about the military. It's called changing the jargon. So that's what I did in the resume writing. And I said, if you're a platoon sergeant, no one cares you're a platoon sergeant. No one cares if you're a sergeant major. They want to know that you're an advisor or a supervisor or a manager, a management. And nobody cares about your awards. And they might care about the Bronze Star, or, you know, people don't care about a good conduct medal. Everybody's good. Everybody gets them, you know. But if you got a Bronze Star or a Purple Heart, people know what those are. But you you don't brag about it. You say, I was awarded the Bronze Star because of this leadership thing or this thing I did in combat. But you have to reword it to how civilian people can comprehend it in a job. So that's one part of my new book that is resume writing and working with the civilian government. When my resume came out, people were like, man, you got a terrible resume, dude. You can't write. And I had people, Walter Reed, telling me, man, you have a stellar resume. Yeah, right. And I think they floated it around. That's how the government called me on the phone and said, hey, we got your resume from Walter Reed. We would like to sit down and help you rewrite your resume and bring you on board as a security specialist. And I'm like, because I didn't disclose when I was at Walter Reed, instead of going to the job fairs, I did an internship with the Defense Security Services. Because when I went to Walter Reed, I still had a top secret security clearance, very high security clearance other than top secret. So I worked for Defense Security Services, which is now Defense Counterintelligence Agency. And I would like to thank Tim and Jason, who are my mentors, because they're the ones that threw me inside a skiff and said, take a look and see what's going on in the government. So my job was to put cover sheets on everything in the skiff, but don't be afraid to read what you see because you're now a part of the club. And I was like, well, I'll never see this ever again, but cool, I did a good job. And, they gave me a little joint service meritorious medal. And I'm like, okay, good. I got that while I was at Walter Reed. So time to retire. And then finally, I'm called up to go work for the government. And I'm like, man, all this skill and stuff that I learned in an internship, I now can bring on with me because, like, when they brought me on in the government, it was like, here's a computer, do your job. I was like, because there's a lot of people out there that will fluff their resumes and, you go work for the government, I'm telling you, you have to know your job because when it comes up to the real world situation, they're going to know if you lied on your resume. I'm telling you, especially being a security specialist and you have situations that go on within the building or something like that. You have to be able to ready to respond within a moment's notice. And I'm not talking about a security guard. I'm talking about security clearances, security violations, stuff like that. You need to know how to react to that because you can't just sit at the desk and go, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. It's got to be done at a certain time. So I just thought that, trying to help people write a resume a little bit better, bring them on to the security side, onto the civilian side would be a lot better. So, and then I also transitioned in the Broken Mirror about just a mirror, different mirrors. Like I have a picture in there where I'm screaming, I'm like, I got my mouth open and I made it black and white and made it like a Trent Reznor song, like the song Fragile from 9 Inch Nails. So I'm like, reflect on this, you ever go through a day like this, looking like this, So then there's pictures of mirrors that are upside down with chairs in them and stuff. Got all this stuff from AI. None of this stuff is all from like the internet. Like I had it all designed. I talked to AI and made it and had it all. And, and I just think that there's certain things that I said in my book, it had to go to the Pentagon for review. And I finally got it back. I got a stamp inside of it from the Pentagon saying that it's reviewed and no one can call me out. No one's going to come after me because I got that stamp of approval from the Pentagon. So, and there's a lot of people out there that write books, and they end up getting sued because they don't go through the right channels. So if you're writing a military book or you had a high security clearance, you need to go through the Pentagon Review Board, the PRB in Washington, D.C. So if anybody's watching and you think about writing a book and you had those things like I got, like a clearance or something like that, because I still have my clearance for another 2 years because you hold it for 5 years. So actually 2 years, I'm sorry, because I got out in 2000, I got fired in 2023. So 24, 25, I'm still walking around with, knowledge of a high security clearance, but I know Big Brother's watching. So I keep my mouth shut.
I don't know. There's a little bit of irony in this and the fact that if you mess up, like you said, there's a chance that there's a lawsuit that they can shut you. And bottom line is they just don't want the information out there. That's They don't want your money. They don't want any of that. They just don't want information out there. But if they mess up, there is no recourse to come back to do that. We've got several of our listeners that are in those kinds of faces and places, and I had an issue with my education funding that they didn't pay when they were supposed to, and then after, and I can't remember. I think it was I think 1990 was the year that they transitioned, like your pieces, where if they paid you, you didn't have to pay taxes on it, and they paid me after the year that they stopped doing that, and I had to pay taxes on the lump sum of my education funding, and that's there's no recourse for that. That's it's hey guys, you messed up. I've been telling you you've been messed up. I've been here telling you all the time you've been messing up. And the reality is, I mean, the people that work in some of these jobs are not qualified to do these jobs, and you are there to cross T's and dot I's in that particular area, and it is what it is. I don't want to.
Can I just say something? So I don't know if I should disclose this or not. I don't know if I'll get in trouble, but there's a thing called the 13 adjudication guidelines.
Yeah.
You ever heard of that? You heard of that?
Yeah.
So if you fall into a 13 category, right? You fall into that category, they should flag you for that clearance. So it goes before the director or to your supervisor, and you're not the one that's in charge of it no more. They are. And if they tell you, go ahead and process it, you process it. So I'm going to go to the example of, do you remember, I'm not going to politics, but do you remember the guy that caught himself on fire? He was in the military in New York, outside a courthouse or something. He lit himself on fire or something and died.
Yes.
That guy, well, he had a high security clearance. And then there's the other guy who was a spy for the government. He just recently came out where he was like an intel analyst. He had a very high security clearance. Well, guess what? There is probably red flags that they bypassed. And this is the reason why I got out. And that's the reason why I wear this shirt right here. Trust God, not the government. Sorry, but all I'm saying is they're going to come back to the person who granted that security clearance.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't do that no more. I'm glad I don't do that no more, because there's a lot of corrupt people out there, and I call them out. I call them out by not organization. I call them out by the system or the government in my new book. And the Pentagon guy that did the review, he actually called me on the phone and he was like, "Hey man, this is amazing." Like, I'm like, "Dude, I will send you a book. I can't believe you guys got it back to me." The first book went through the Pentagon and it took 8 months. This book only took 2 months. And the guy was like, "Look, I'm glad that you're getting a message out there." Because he said half of the time people sit up here, they just send us fluff. He goes, "You look like you lived it." I'm like, "I can tell you more, but I can't disclose anymore, you know?"
Sure.
So.
No, that's because of some of these pieces. I got out at 14 instead of going the ride that I wanted to go, and I just like, you know what? I have to do what's right for me. And when the culture got to a point where it's just like, you know what, there's no value in this, and so
it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody.
Yep.
It's not for everybody.
Outstanding. Well, we have a closer song lined up. We're going to get to that here in a second. But now we're at the time where we kind of just share what was the pivotal moment for you. What are your thoughts? Where are you at? What is your takeaway? And usually Jonathan leads this. And Jonathan leads us not because he doesn't have anything else to do. He just eloquently has his words. Miss Eichmann usually has stuff that she has to also share on top of, so it ends up being like more informational than it is what's the takeaway. But I'm going to throw it right underneath, Andrea. What is your takeaway from this evening?
You're throwing me on there, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
To use my eloquent words like Jonathan does?
Yes.
I'm just kidding. No. So, William, one of the things that I really locked into when I was doing some research is you being the voice of the voiceless, and the reality that there is still a huge number. And I know we can include civilians and children and students and everybody, housewives in this category. Those who have suffered and are still suffering silently and not knowing where to go to help, not knowing where or who will help them, who they can trust, where they should even start. And so your passion to help by being on here, by putting your books out, by being on other podcasts and having your own platform and traveling to share all of this is amazing. It's just another great example of the giving personality. I mean, a service personality doesn't end when you're done or you retire or you say thank you and I'll see you around. It's here and it's pretty solid. And I just think, I just think our net will never catch everybody, but the more nets we have, the more people that we can catch. And that's, I'm a firm believer. And so collaboration and getting the word out there and sharing with everybody is really, really at the heart of where we start and where we want to go. So thank you. Thank you so much. And I see a couple of people said they just ordered their books. So I did put the Amazon link out there. So there'll be more of them out in other people's hands. I did want to tell you this Frank DeMyth, even though it's fiction, it strikes pretty hard as well. He's an author as well. So if you, he's right on Facebook. I think that's how I found him. So if you want to check him out, thank you, Frank, for being here again tonight. Dang, good people find good people. I think this happens. So thank you. I do need to mention next week, we have Jason Michael Carroll, who is a new musician to us, and he will be talking about his experiences and where his music derives from, where he gets his ideas and what he wants to do with his music. So I'm super excited to have him on. Shoot, you know what? My nose has been buried in school, and I coach volleyball right now. So I'll be here tomorrow. I'm actually excited. I'll be here tomorrow for our debrief. And I do have a few things to share. So along with Peterson, I'm sure, and hopefully Jonathan and Kimmer are good to roll as well. So I will catch you tomorrow.
Thank you. Mr. Stevens, what are your final thoughts for today?
Completely blown away because like my messenger is still open and I'm getting little thumbs popping up all over on my screen. I know you don't see it, but I'm seeing them pop up. So I guess there's a lot of people watching the feed. And again, I thank you for buying my book. Like I had never asked anyone to buy my book. You could just go and Google my name and the book and it'll show up on Google and you could read the first 20 pages and get whatever you want out of it. But like I said, Andrea, you have my email address, don't you?
Yes.
If you could put it in the chat, I don't care. If there's anyone out there that don't have the money that wants to see this new book before it drops on Halloween, because this is the book that has the message. Because this is the book that I wrote in the book called This is the Banger. This is opening Pandora's box. This next book is opening Pandora's box. If you think The Mirror is a good book, wait till you read The Broken Mirror. As I have friends coming from all over the world that I know that I've shared my manuscript with while I was doing it and writing it. Like I would just have a weird idea of an entry and be like, yo, check this out. What do you think of this? And they were like, dude, did you write that? I was like, no, it came from here and in here. Like, I can't write that. I would never sit down on a tablet and try to write that. I couldn't do it. But networking is the key to success. And I think that there are a lot of people that I know that I've interacted with in the government and the civilian life, and now in the hospital that I work for. If you don't network, you're never going to be successful. And that's what this is what these platforms are right here. Networking. Networking is the key to success. And thank you for letting me meet you all. Thank you for having me on this podcast, on this radio show. Everybody, like I said, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens, and just your availability and your willingness to come and share your overall knowledge and just the plethora of there's the skill set behind all of that, and the one of the pieces that our culture, our world. When I say our, I'm talking about the veteran and the first responder. The first responder is a little bit different, but for the veteran, you come out now. You've been. This is going to sound terrible. You've been retarded, as in you've been held back a bit being in the military, and you're going to figure out where's he going here. Most of you, when you join the military, you join right out of high school. You go, you train. Now you learn to sow your oats as a person in the service. So you're doing your barracks drinking. You're doing that. You're all doing dumb stuff. You're showing your butt more than you need to other people. You're doing standing on the roof more than you probably should be. You're doing all that stuff because you're just young, dumb, and learning, and that's fine. What's happening with the other part of our group or the other part of the world, 97% of the world, they are learning how to pay their rent. They are learning how to pay their insurance. They're learning how to buy their clothes. They're learning how to buy their food. They're learning how to do all these things. And it's a little bit different now in the fact that my 24-year-old just went through, we didn't have curbside apps that we could order food off when I was in. And, they spend their entire paycheck doing this stuff now. And it's ridiculous. It is what it is. But and it was a mess hall when I went. It's a DFAC now. Dining facility. Anyway, there's still a piece where they're held back in that process, only in the fact that you don't get to live the real world scenarios. You get to live the military scenarios, which isn't a bad thing, but it's another piece. And I hate using the transition because it's become so lay word. It's like, oh, military transition. Well, everyone transitions. Yes, I get that. But if you've been in for a straight 20 years, yes, you've got to get some bits and pieces of it, but you didn't get the full-fledged. You got to live on the norm. You've got to live in a society that doesn't give a shit whether you served or not. You always could confide in your brothers and sisters because they knew what you were going through because they were in it with you. You know what it's like to dig a foxhole. You know what it's like to burn the poo. You know what it's like to do all these pieces, and you all got to be part of that misery at some point in time. You know what? We've got 97% of our country that's never had to do any part of any of it. Never dug a foxhole, never burned any poo, never had an MRE. Never. They don't care. And it's not that they don't care about you. They don't care about your experiences. And they don't care that you sacrificed for very little pay to do those pieces. Where some of us did it for the purpose of nobility and said, here's a mission I'm going to do in life. And you served. And that is doing something above and beyond what other 97% of our country does. Roughly only 3% of our country is in the armed service at any given time. Roughly 6% of our country is a veteran. And then you can that's not the right word. You can match up our first responders with those, and roughly 70% of those that our first responders have prior service. And so, it really whittles down to there's less than 10% of our country that has gone through those experiences. It's not good. It's not bad. It's just a thing. But you got to learn. You've been held back. You didn't get to follow the natural progression of life. Why do we lift up our veteran musicians? We lift up all of our veterans, for the record, but why do we do those guys specifically? Because they didn't go to the Juilliard School of Music. They went and they carried an M16 and they went and did their stuff first. And there's stories there. Um, if you are finding that struggle, and if you are having conversations in your head that aren't aligning, I mean, it aligns with your military group, but it's not aligning with your civilian world, reach out. It's sometimes as simple of just as a restart and a refocus. And it is, you know what? There is no drill sergeant going to be yelling at you. There's no crabby old E6 who probably shouldn't be there in the first place, but getting in your business. But you might have a boss that really is not realistic, and they may not live on the same moral code as you do. It's typically in the military, you had to follow a process. Our real world doesn't follow a process. Our real world actually hands out participation awards these days. And sometimes that participation award is a step up in the next job ranking. And it is what it is. You still got to live in it. I still got to live in it. But at the end of the day, we have to figure out how we will actively function in this piece and in this place. So, bottom line is, at the end of the day, the civilian world doesn't care about the temperature of your coffee or what flavor your MRE was. They don't care. I jokingly make it a piece where I had to polish those damn black boots for so long, and now you don't even have to polish your boots. Are you kidding me? You guys, you don't even know the pain if you didn't have to polish boots. Our call to action every week is we all have a device on us. And it is our job to be our brother's keeper, our sister's keeper. It's our job. And by no means do I think that this action will save everyone on Earth. And there's a little anecdote I like to share sometimes, because we recently just got called to the carpet on some stuff, which is fine. I get it. I'm not going to be the guy that sits on the couch and does nothing. I'm not going to be that guy. There's this little anecdote of this young man who's running up and down this beach, and there's starfish all over the beach. They've washed up, and the little boy is out there throwing these starfish back into the ocean. And this old, very wise man walks up and he sees that, this boy's actions. He tells the boy, he goes, you know what? You're never going to make a difference. There are too many. There's too many out here. You're not going to get it. And the little boy picks up one more starfish and he throws it back into the water. He goes, I made a difference for that one. And I think we stop to realize how much control we really have. So we ask you to open up a text thread and type in, I was just thinking about you. It's that simple. Copy it and send it to 6 other people, or 6 people total. We call it the 6-pack. Is it going to save everyone? No. Will we miss the 7th and the 8th and the 9th? Maybe. Will one of the ones we reach out to decide that they no longer be here? Could be. But I can't sit back and not do nothing. And to bring awareness, to bring an understanding, to be part of something that is making a difference and will do something for someone else. We're built to be relational. So have those conversations. Reach out to those that you don't think need, like everyone has this, reach out to those leaders, the leaders that have had people leaning on them forever, because they're the ones that are struggling as well. I do ask you to take one of your 6-pack, and I joke about this as well. And it doesn't have to be an ex-wife or a boyfriend or anything like that, but take one relationship that you got sideways somewhere in life over something that might be petty or that you didn't understand or that you can't figure out, and reach out to that one person. I don't think we need to go to our end with having any regrets because we didn't reach out to the one person we used to be able to reach to regularly. And we get into stuff. Everyone gets into stuff. I get it. So, Mr. Stevens, thank you for being here. Miss Eichmann, thank you for your continued mission with the People's Patriot Project. Everyone, find a way to continue the mission. And if you've never been part of a mission, find a way to be part of one. That's why we, the people, I guarantee you, when our forefathers, and I wish it wasn't the way it was made, but I wish I could say our foremothers as well. But now we are in a place where that's accepting. And the growth of our country in 300 years, less than 300 years now, is impeccable. There was a time where we were all part of the militia so we could have the freedoms that we have now. And you didn't get accepted as a military person. You didn't get awards. You had to pay for your own ammunition. You had to make sure you had your own warmth and clothing. But that was the value of fighting for the freedoms and liberties that the country that we live in now. You had to pay it forward, or patriot forward, in my opinion. So we're in that place and space still. We're going to be in that place and space for eternity, in my opinion, because there's always someone that's going to disagree with the overall process of what's best for all of our country. It's not a political statement. It's just a statement. It's be better. Be better. The version of us tomorrow should be better than the version of us today. Learn, grow, and be an inspiration to someone in your world. We appreciate you. We thanks everyone for being here today. This is a little lighter note song we're going to head out on, but this is our good friend, John Hensley. You better be tough. Paid your pride.
Well, I grew up down in a small town. Folks know everyone for miles around. Was the kind of kid who couldn't back down when that bullet was picking on me. Next thing I know, I was looking up at the sky, watching the clouds roll by with a shiner on my eye. Can't forget what my daddy said when I got home that night. When he sat me on his knees, he said, if you're gonna be dumb, son, you better be tough. Well, your head and your life's gonna get real rough. God's giving out brains, you must not have got too much. You wouldn't be doing such foolish things. Better stop thinking before you act, son. Turn your hot head into a cool one. You're gonna learn your lessons well enough. You're gonna be dumb, son, you better be tough. So I got married and I was 22 to a beautiful lady and I had no clue. She asked me how she looked, what I was supposed to do was come up with a little white lie. She came at me with a frying pan, cussing and yelling something I didn't understand. Woke up in a room getting me a CAT scan, with a doctor preached to me, saying, if you're gonna be dumb, son, you better be tough. Well, your head and your life's gonna get real rough. God's giving out brains, you must not have got too much. You wouldn't be doing such foolish things. Better stop thinking before you act, son. Turn that hot head into a cool one. enough. Gonna be dumb, son, you better be tough. My way home, I hit my favorite bar. Couple of drinks, I might have gone a little too far. Don't know how I didn't see that police car with those blue lights following me. I learned a lesson on the roadside. 2 flat tires on my passenger side. Barney hates it when I drink and drive. He just kept on lecturing me. Say, if you're gonna be dumb, son, you better be tough. Where your head and your life gonna get real rough. God was giving out brains, you must not have got too much. You wouldn't be doing such foolish things. Better stop thinking before you act, son. Turn your hot head into a cool one. Gonna learn your lessons well enough. If you're gonna be dumb, son, you better be tough.